Heavy Trunk, and this is my buddy over here, also a Sirius XM brethren, Keith Roth. Say hello to Pete.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody.
Just a quick note, you guys, I've been white knuckling it for the last 24 hours because I do my radio show live from the ship, for those that don't know, every day, and I just got the connection to work. So last year it didn't work, so we're going to do it, and it's going to be live every day at 3 o'clock in here, and my guest today is Steve Harris. Right? So you're all welcome, and we'll see you then, and then we'll have it going all the whole week. So, and maybe I'll be lucky and I can score Keith Roth as a guest at some point.
I would love to. I've only known the guy about
35, 40 years. We're Jersey brothers, so.
He was 10, I was 2.
Exactly. We just, yeah. So anyway, look, enough about us, because Keith and I were just saying we could shoot the shit, the two of us, for hours and 2 seconds. Yeah, they warned us. We have an unbelievable panel of musicians behind that screen right there, and we are here because we are going to celebrate the late, great legend Ozzy Osborne today. And all the people that we're going to bring out all have some direct affiliation with Ozzy at some point in the career. I mean, anybody that's into music in any way has some love or connection to Ozzy, even if you didn't meet him in person, of course. But I'm sure I have a story, Keith has a story, and these folks that are coming out all worked in a lot of ways directly with Ozzy in some capacity, including the guy whose band, of course, is headlining this cruise this year, the one and only, speaking of Jersey, we're going to have a lot of heavy Jersey quotient, the one and only Zakk Wylde coming out. So with that, let's get everybody out here, and you know them, and we'll give them a proper intro. But as they walk out, that's Dana, everybody. And that's David Ellefson, everybody. And that is the very sexy Zakk Wylde, everybody. And this is the one and only Lita Ford, everybody. And Mr. Gillis, another Ozzy player. A man over here who is responsible for getting many of Ozzy's players in the band, and he's told me amazing Ozzy stories, the one and only David Strum. Of course, you know the guy that came in shortly after we lost the late, great Randy Rhoads, Mr. Gillis over here. And you all know him and love him. He doesn't even need an introduction, Mr. Rudy Sarzo. And I said David Ellefson. Yeah, I think he was the first one out. Yeah, we got everybody. So, Keith, what do you think? How do we even tackle this beast? What do you want to do? Do you want to just let everybody
it's like my
go down the line?
Future right here. People that I looked up to growing up, and people I work with, and it's just awesome to see everybody here paying tribute to a guy that was one of the greatest fucking singers in the history of music, one of the greatest innovators in rock and roll, and we love him. I still feel like he's with us every day. Right?
Well, he is with all the music that he's given us for sure. So anyway, I think we should start with the guy that I think, an enormous part of the whole Ozzy story, and that's Mr. Zakk Wylde sitting right here. Zakk, just to get going, because I think we're celebrating Ozzy today, so we're going to have some fun with this, no doubt, as well, because everybody's got a funny Ozzy story. Zakk has told me a billion. Zakk, I'm going to hand you this mic, and you just go, man. You start, where do you want to start?
Hi, everyone. I'm glad everybody came out. This is awesome, man. But, Ozzy's the best. I mean, truly, he had, like, all the qualities you want in somebody. It's just hard as nails, heart of gold, and there was just never any quitting, ever. You know what I mean? But, yeah, so, all the way up until the end. I mean, Brad would know. I mean, I always said it was a miracle any work ever got done, just because he'd always be taking the piss out of himself, or just whatever was on the news, or whatever current events were going on, or whatever, he'd be taking the piss out, immediately would start making fun of whatever's going on. But, I was telling them when we started doing the No More Tours 2 thing, we're all in rehearsals, And some guys came in, we didn't know who they were. This one guy had a briefcase with him or whatever. And we were like, who is that? None of us knew who it was. I don't know whether it was a monitor guy or a new lighting guy or whatever, right? So, but they were just in the room with us while we were jamming. And then Oz comes over to us. He's like, yeah, oh, Sharon got me a vocal coach, you know. And I go, oh. And I go, well, Oz, that's just because Mom wants you to, you know, be the best version of yourself. She wants you to kick as much ass as possible. He goes, yes, I suppose. He goes, well, it's a little late in the game for a vocal coach, isn't it? like this is going to help at this point. You know, but anyways, yeah. So it was basically just that all the time. I remember, you know, it was just when we were working on Osmosis. We were in New York City at the time working on that one, and we were in Paris and New York City. But when we got to New York, it was, I remember, you know, I was in the studio. Oz would rarely come down to the studio unless, you know, there was something going on, or like maybe No Rest for the Wicked when we were just tracking the drums or something. But I was working on guitars with Michael Beinhorn, and we just had a picture of Jimmy Page up on the wall, picture of Jimi Hendrix up on the wall. And then I had a picture of, I went to this occult bookstore that was in New York City. It's not there anymore, but it was called The Magical Child. And it was like one-stop shopping for all occult things, and it had everything in there, Christianity, all this occult stuff. And then they had this poster of Aleister Crowley up on the wall. And I said, how much for the poster? And he goes, I just had to ask. And the guy was like, $6.66. And I was like, here's $7, keep the change. So, but anyways, so I had this poster of Aleister Crowley up on the wall with Jimmy Page and, you know, Jimi Hendrix and all this stuff up on the wall. And Oz comes in the studio, he's like, starts telling me these Jimi Hendrix stories, telling everybody, you know, because him and Geezer went and saw Hendrix back in the day. And he goes, Zakk, he was playing with his teeth, and behind it, we were like, this has got to be to tape or something. And he goes, like, nobody could do that, you know? So he's telling me about that, and then he saw a picture of Jimmy Page up on the wall. He started telling me these hilarious Bonzo stories of him going out drinking and just the comedy fest on that. And then he sees the picture of Aleister Crowley on the wall, and he goes, Zakk, who's the bald-headed clown on the wall? And I go, Oz, you don't know who that is. He goes, who is it? And I go, Oz, you've been singing about him since 1979. He goes, well, who is it? And I go, Oz, you don't know who that is? Well, who is it? I go, it's Aleister Crowley. And Oz just walks up to the poster and he stares at it, like just so he can look at it. He goes, looks back at it and he goes, oh, is that what he looks like? Yes. And he's the Prince of Daftness. Yeah, it was, like I said, it was always that all the time. But yeah, he's just the best though, man. But,
awesome. Why don't you just pass the mic? We'll get everybody in here with something. So, yeah, whatever, Brad. Give it to Dick. We'll work this way, yeah. But Brad, why don't you jump in, man? Because we've talked a lot over the years about your time. And I think that Brad filled a really, really important part in Ozzy's history.
Yeah, we came in, we made that live record, I guess, to compete with Sabbath, right? The live, speaking of devil.
But just having to come in, Bernie Torme was in there for a couple minutes, but then for you to come in there and have to hold the fort there at a really tough time, I would imagine.
It was pretty much the heaviest time of my life, because basically I was trying to get Night Ranger going. We were trying to get a record deal, so I put a band together called the Alameda All-Stars, and we, I saw Randy play with Ozzy in 1981 at a big festival in Oakland. I go, man, this is great. So I learned Crazy Train and Flying High again. And long story long, I'm up really late one night after playing a Saturday night, and early Sunday morning I get a phone call, and this lady's going, you know Bradley? Yeah, this is Sharon Org. We'd like to fly you to, with the Ozzy Osborne camp, and we'd like to fly you to New York for an audition with Ozzy. Who the fuck is this? No, this is Sharon. Do you want me to put Ozzy on the phone? I said, yeah, put Ozzy on the phone. Hello, Bradley. Oh, fuck. Yeah? I want you to get a pen and paper and write down these 18 songs to learn. Fuck. Hold on. So I got a pen and a paper. I wish I had that sheet, because I was shaking so hard writing down these songs. He goes, how many songs do you know? I said, I knew 3 or 4. You'll learn them, won't you? I said, okay. So I had about a day and a half to get records together that I didn't have, Black Sabbath and the Ozzy stuff, to go through these songs. Then I fly to New York, and I land there, and they were playing Madison Square Gardens with Bernie. And I went to the hotel. I'm green. I didn't know nothing. And I said, yeah, the Helmsley Palace, big hotel in New York. And I said, yeah, room for Brad Gillis. And then, oh, no room. Under Ozzy Osborne? Nope. Okay. I had no credit card, $150 in my pocket, and the room was $135. So I gave my $135 to get in my room. I got $15. I don't know what to do. And then I get a call from Larry McNeely, the road manager, saying, "Oh, you made it okay. Come on up and meet Ozzy." So I go, okay. So instead of taking the elevator, I ran up the stairs because I was too excited, right? And these big 2 double doors, a big suite going into these Helmsley Palace, and I hear all this music going on, people talking, and I knock on the door, and Larry answers the door. He goes, "Hey, how's it going?" I go, okay, I didn't have a room under my name, and I got like $15. So he whips out 5 $100 bills, and he goes, "Will this work?" And I go, "Yeah, this will work." He goes, "Come meet Sharon." So I meet Sharon. "Oh, Bradley, how you doing?" I said, "Fine." "Come meet Ozzy." And Ozzy was a little out of it, sitting on the couch. And there was all these guys that had long hair hanging out that looked like they might be auditioning too. So I asked Sharon, I go, "How many of these guys' kids are auditioning?" She goes, oh no, it's just you, Bradley." "Okay. Come meet Ozzy." So she said, "Ozzy, come meet Bradley, the new guitar player." And Ozzy's like, "Go get your guitar." "Oh, okay, I don't have an amplifier." "Go get your guitar." So I went and got my red Strat that I've been playing forever, and ran down the stairs, got it, ran back up the stairs, walked in the door, and there was this huge stairwell that went up to the top, to the master bedroom, where Ozzy said, "Oh, yeah, come on and play for me." And it was so funny, when I'm walking up the stairs with Ozzy, you see these 40, 50 people looking up at me like, all right, this is the big audition. So I sat at the end of the bed, and Ozzy sat on the ground with his legs crossed and said, "What do you want to play?" And I thought, well, Flying High Again has that great solo in it, and then the tapping thing. I go, let's do that. So imagine sitting in the end of the bed, looking down at Ozzy Osborne. No amp, and I'm going, hello, now. Here we go now. Hey, baby, sing it. Totally surreal, right? So then I get to the solo, and I finish the solo, and he jumps up, and I jump up, the guitar between us, gives me a big hug, he goes, "Bradley, I love you, pull me through, pull me through." And I said, "Ozzy, I'll do the best I can, I'll make it happen." So he opens up the door, and he goes, "I got a fucking guitar player." So I went downstairs, and all these people, "Who are you, what have we done?" I go, "I was in Rubicon, I believe this band called Ranger at the time." So I ended up, they gave me 2 board cassettes that they recorded with Randy on it. And I went to my room, I would sit in my room all day long, and Sharon got me a boombox and a little amplifier, and I go through the live tape, and luckily I'm blessed because I learned music by ear when I was a kid. I started when I was 8 years old, and a friend of my brother's came over when I was 10. He said, "Brad, just listen to the radio. Learn by ear. It'll pay off. You don't want to learn fucking Mary Had a Little Lamb, getting taught by these guitar teachers." So I listened to everything I learned by ear. So after 4 days, I told them I was ready and went in to do a sound check, and Rudy will remember, and never played with the band before. And like Zakk said, he never showed up much. Ozzy didn't show up for the sound check. And we got through like about 7 out of the 18 songs. And then it was like, all right, you're on, Brad. You're going on. I didn't know what to wear. They set me up with this jumpsuit and everything. And Rudy, an hour before the show, he goes, oh, by the way, Brad, you got to do this thing where you swing your guitar. Okay. So I did that for like 20 minutes in the mirror, and I kind of got it down. Did my first show, and I was scared as fuck, man, going out there, and I screwed up on Revelation, Mother Earth.
Rudy, jump in. You got a mic in front of you. Go ahead. Well, we want to hear from you too. No, you got a mic there. You can both talk.
He's doing a great job. He's doing a great job. How long is this on?
Rudy's mic on.
No, actually, Bradley's doing a great job, and it's good for me because I was there and I wanted to hear his perception, because while he was auditioning for Ozzy, I had no idea that he existed. I was just getting ready to do that show that night at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, in New York City. Yeah, at the Garden, right? So we finished the show, and it was incredibly traumatic for me because that show was a wake for Randy Rhoads. And Bernie Torme was playing guitar. And just to see all the signs and banners about Randy, I just cried through the whole thing. Okay, so after the show, I just go back to the suite, and there was a party. They were giving, Ozzy a double platinum for, I think it was Diary, that had just gone double platinum or Gillis or whatever. And I just couldn't stand it, all the celebration going on after what I experienced on stage. So I go to my room, and, I'm just laying there, and I hear a knock. And it's Sharon. Sharon comes in, and he goes, Rudy, this is a young man named Bradley. Would you like to get together with him and go over some songs? So she says, he's upstairs in the penthouse. And it was about to snow. We had the blizzard of 1982 when we were stuck there. And so it was like this really moody weather. You can see the storm coming in, and we were up in the Helmsley Palace at the penthouse. And he's playing his guitar. And a year prior to that, I was him auditioning.
Let's get some of the folks down on this end. And Lita Ford, of course, who doesn't love Close My Eyes Forever, the amazing ballad that she did with Ozzy. Lita, anything you want to share, or stories you want to tell of your time and experience in doing that song? Here's a mic for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I had the great honor and great pleasure of writing a top 10 hit single with Ozzy Osborne in 1988. And of course, my relationship was with Sharon. She was my manager at the time. And we were recording a record in North Hollywood, California. And Sharon shows up with Ozzy. And she just wanted to hear a couple of the tracks that we were recording. And a few hours went by, and she left. She got bored and she left. Ozzy and I were playing pool, and we had some wine, and she leaves Ozzy with me. And, you know what that's like, Zakk. So, Ozzy, being the great talent that he is and was, he took my guitar. We found a little closet in the corner of the studio, and he started singing Close My Eyes Forever. And so I got the guitar, and you know, we never came out of that closet. It was like, God, the next day, the sun was up. And we were pretty fucked up. But we
I was going to say, what happened in that closet? There's a story.
Yeah, I mean, no, it was purely...
We're in international waters, if you want to share.
No, it was purely music.
Smart.
No, but then, you know, he had bought me, and this is kind of funny, he bought me a life-size duplicate of Coco the gorilla from the San Diego Zoo. I just got a new house, and his housewarming gift was this life-size duplicate, this great big fucking gorilla. And so we came out of this closet, and I said, Ozzy, and he says, you got to drive me home, and drive me home. And, you know, it's over Laurel Canyon, right? And Laurel Canyon is, you know, the roads are, I can't fucking drive. I'm not driving you with Coco the gorilla. I'm not driving you home. I said, get a cab. So I hated to ask him to do that, but he did. He got a cab, and he went home over Laurel Canyon that way. And I went home with Coco the gorilla this way. And so after that night, you know, the record companies got a hold of that song, and they said, Lita, you are the #1 best female rock vocalist in the country, and Ozzy was #1 best male vocalist in the country. They said, this song is a no-brainer. And so, you know, from that point on, it became top 10 hit single in America. And Coco found a home on my floor in the corner of my house.
I want to just, I want to get everybody, it's funny, when Dana Bachmas sorted this out, she's like, we did 45 minutes. I go, that ain't gonna get it done. So we have an hour 15 max on this, so I want to make sure everybody gets to speak a little bit. So we'll keep moving down the line, and we're gonna get Dana Strum in here, because when Dana Bachman called me about this and said, anybody else we should have on there, I said, Mr. Strum, because for those that don't know, Dana was behind bringing Randy and others to Ozzy. And Dana has told me unbelievable stories over the years. So Dana, why don't you jump in here a little bit?
Well, with that great introduction, I met a different Ozzy. I met the Ozzy, and still am, a very big Black Sabbath fan. There was nothing better than Black Sabbath for me. The kid in a bedroom in the valley. All I did was listen to this, and it was like a religious experience for me. Every day, all I would do is play along to it and just say, how did these guys do this? And I later learned from him how they did, and it was a great lesson for me. So I met an Ozzy that had just been fired from his band. Imagine that. So he came into a dressing room at a club that many of you may have heard of called the Starwood. You played the Starwood. You were an East Coast guy. You didn't. Rudy, you played the Starwood. Yeah, legend of the Starwood. Everybody and their brother, if you lived in the West Coast, would play there. And you played original music, which was unusual. And of course, because I loved Black Sabbath, I had a band that sounded an awful lot, because I stole everything I could. It sounded like Black Sabbath. So the real behind-the-scenes story is his guy at Jet Records, Son Arden's assistant, said there's some group that sounds like you guys at the Starwood. It's not like a Hollywood band. So you should go down there, meet who they are. Maybe those people can help you. It's this loosey-goosey. Nobody would really ever believe it. We play, and there's a knock on the door, and hey, I'm Ozzy Osborne. And I said, oh, yeah, shit, look at that. He comes in, and I think at one point, because he's kind of staring and bobbing a little bit from the booze and weed and what have you, I think coke probably at that time too, and I was mesmerized. Here was a guy from a band I just idolized and loved, standing and dressing. And I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. Then comes the question where I think I'm fucked. And he says, who's responsible? It sounds like Black Sabbath. And I said, well, if you hate it, I'm the guy to hate. And if you like it, I like that music. And it literally sounds just like the band. And I said, no. And he says, Can you help? He just looks at me with this crazy earnest look. Can you help me? And just stares at me. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I've been sacked from my band. And I need, I think I'm fucked. And so I look at him, and I'm like, you're not fucked, you're Ozzy Osborne. And he says, no, I don't think you get it, kid. I think I'm completely fucked. And I'm like, why is he saying this in front of 4 other people he doesn't know? But the beauty of it was how earnest inside, you know this, how earnest inside, it was all so just legitimate who he was. And I said, well, I know this music, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm standing in Starwood. I got a guy that'll change your life. I didn't ask you that. Dana. I said, my name is Dana. And I just said fucking Dana. I said, well, okay, forget
By the
it.
way, maybe the best Ozzy impression ever, by the way. Please do that. Please do that nonstop, please. Fucking amazing.
And so he writes down on this piece of paper, the La Park Hotel. Now this hotel is famous. It was in his own book, many stories, many books. It ends up being the hotel that I bring Randy to meet him. So without getting overly long-winded, Randy actually, it turned out, never had actually, and Rudy, you're aware of this, never actually auditioned for anybody in his life. Randy taught guitar and was playing in Quiet Riot. And I didn't know Randy well. Our bands played together a lot. But whenever we were done, I would go out at the Starwood, it had a balcony, and I would just look down with my jaw on the floor. How are none of these label people and producers and managers and these big Hollywood people, and I'm this one long-haired dipshit, and I'm staring at this guy, how the fuck does no one see how good this guy is? But the truth was, the vast majority of the business, Rudy, you know this more than anybody, no one gave a fuck. So you could have that kind of talent, and no one really cared. And leave it to dumb old me, I thought, I care. I'm going to do something about this. So I actually knocked on the door, and I said, look, we play together. I don't know, but do you know how fucking good you are? I'm like, well, that's a good way to start. And I said, I got to do something with you. And he goes, what do you got? Now, at the time, I had nothing. 2 weeks later, Ozzy walks in. And I thought, now I do. And so I kept telling him he had a list of guys to go see. I said, well, we don't need to see that list. I have the guy that's going to change your life. I'm telling you, I have the guy. In the end, Randy went to a recording studio that I worked at. Ozzy was very, very intoxicated, which, shocker. Couldn't be. And Randy was not happy with the guitar sound on a Japanese record that he had done. And he was, look, man, just trust me. So I thought he was going to bring the stuff from the Starwood, his amps, Echoplex, the things he played through. He ended up bringing the stuff from Musonia, right? And MXR pedal and a small Gibson practice amp. And I said, so where's the guy with all your stuff? And he goes, oh, don't worry about that. He had a Volkswagen Scirocco. And he goes, I got my stuff here. Well, the stuff from the Starwood can't fit in that car. Don't worry, dude. You'll see. I got this. This is, you'll see. It's big. I'm like, I'm so fucked. This isn't even funny. I walk in the room, and Ozzy is snoring piss drunk on the couch. And I tap on the shoulder. What the fuck? And I'm like, hey, so we're ready for you to see the guy. Oh, take me home, Jenna. No. I said, no, this was the day we set this up. You know, he's here. We mic'd him up. We're ready to go. I said, take me home. And I'm like, you know what? I got nothing. I got no money. I got nothing. I got nothing to lose. No, I'm not taking you home. And you know what else? You don't live here. You don't have a home here. And he's like, don't talk to me like that. You know? And I said, I just did. The guy in there, you're going to see. And he's like, I said, take me home. You know? I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And so he's, you have 5 fucking minutes. Starting now, 4:30. I'm like, that's kind of funny because the truth is, all I need is a couple of your ass in there with that guy. And if you don't see what I see, I get up, I'm wrong, I'm fucked. I don't see how you wouldn't see it. And Randy had a solo, and he had a name for it, Penny something, Pennywise or Penny. Yeah, something he would play it in Quiet Ride on his own, and it was. I remember at the start, but I would just stare at him like, how the fuck does no one get this? I said, dude, just do that. Because I'd never auditioned, what do you want me to do? Just do what you do at the Starwood, just start out, just do it, trust me. Ozzy comes in, there's a lot of lights in an old school studio, a lot of analog gear, and fuck, am I down? It looks like a spaceship. Oh, fuck. And there's no noise, and I had dimmed the light down in there. Randy, Ozzy, cigarette pack rolled up in his sleeve, hair down, and Randy was a little more effeminate, his polka dots, his trip, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to turn these down, and Randy wanted to get feedback out there and do his thing, and so Ozzy's like, well, so far he's great, isn't he? I'm like, unbelievable. So he goes, 3 minutes and 10 now. They're taking me home. And I said, you know what? Fucking fuck this. So it was a rotary volume knob, and I was just frustrated. So I happened to hit it with my finger. You know what? This is fucked. So I hit it with my finger, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be a pussy and reach up and turn it down. There's no bass, there's no drums. I'm not going to blow up anything. This will wake this fucker up. And, it woke him up all right. Randy opens up his guitar, and because it was so distorted, the feedback comes, so you hear, and Ozzy jumps out of the chair, what the fuck? And I said, that woke you up? And he was like, what am I listening to? What am I hearing? And I said, just listen. And Randy's playing, and it just could not, he just on fire. I mean on fire. Better than anything I had seen on his own, being who he was, on fucking fire. And I'm like, go kid, this is it. Just fucking do this is it. And he's like, yeah. He's telling me to turn it down. So I do reach up, I turn it down. He goes, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like, yeah. He goes, for God's sakes, tell the kid he's got his job, please. And I'm like, well, we're not going home anymore, are we? And we weren't going home at that point. I turned it down and I thought, it's not going to get, I don't think, any better, but he's really fucked up. And Randy wasn't that guy. He was not a partying, he wasn't a fucked up dude. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk Ozzy out the back door, and Randy's still playing, because this thing that he would play was an established thing that he would play. You played it with him. And he had a whole repertoire that he worked out as a solo. And I'm like, God, I don't know what the fuck to do. Fuck it. Okay, let's go. I take Ozzy out the back door. Randy's still playing. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm fucking going to do this. He's still playing. I get in the car. I drive Ozzy back to the park. I come back. Randy's sitting there on his own, just noodling a little bit. I walk in, I'm like, hey. He goes, you didn't like me? I said, no, that's not what's going on. He goes, where is he? I said, back at his hotel. And he's like, well, he left. I said, yeah, I know. He told me to tell you, you got the job. And he's like, am I meeting him? Yeah, tomorrow. And I'm thinking, best thing that could happen for both these guys is that they meet at another time. And that is really what happened.
That's awesome. All right, there's only one person on this distinguished panel we didn't get to chime in here a little bit, and that's Mr. Ellefson there. So we'll give him a mic, and David, jump in.
Sure, thanks. Hey, everybody, how are you? You know, first of all, before I start, I find it ironic I'm sitting between these two gentlemen of Rudy Sarzo and Brad Gillis, because that Speak of the Devil album changed my life, and I've told Rudy this many times. I was young. I played Paranoid in one of my bands, and there it is right there. In Minnesota, before I moved to Hollywood, I played Paranoid. And that was really the only Sabbath song that I knew of the Ozzy era, just because of my age. I was young, right? And when I heard that album, that changed my life, because I got to know Black Sabbath. And I told Rudy, I said, you introduced me to Geezer Butler, like for real, on that album. Just again, because of my age, the age that we come into these things. So thank both of you for that. So, you know, I'm the, thank Geezer, exactly. And that's why I told Dave, I said, for fuck's sake, we're playing Paranoid on the Nativity in Black album. And he fought me. We went around the horn, and because it was my idea, not his idea, he had to try every Black Sabbath song until he finally played Paranoid. And of course, that was the song. That was the winner. So that was the one we used on that Nativity in Black album, the tribute to Black Sabbath. But I'm really the latecomer here to all of this. Megadeth and Black Sabbath, we did a tour on their final tour, the 13 album, I think it was, right? It was the final one. We did a big swing across South America. And Billy Morrison was down there. Billy, as we know, is a dear friend of Ozzy's. And I've been public about getting clean and getting sober back. Well, it's kind of mandated. Our manager made Megadeth get clean before we recorded the Rust in Peace album, which is probably why it's quite good, is because we wrote it high, we recorded it sober. People have asked, can't you go do that again, write another fucked up album and get sober and record it? It doesn't work like that. But so here we are many years later, and I've fortunately, you know, humbly been able to stay clean through my whole career since then. So the Ozzy that I met was not the ant snorting, you know, the stories of legend that we know of him. He was kind of coming back from a you know, kind of a rough road that he'd had. And so Billy Morrison, right away, the first show, I think it was maybe in I forgot where it was, somewhere in South America, they invite me over to bro down, kind of do the sober hang with Ozzy. And a lot of that is kind of anonymous and stuff that I, you know, out of respect, we don't talk about. But I got to know a guy named John John Osborne. And in fact, we talked very little about music. It was about lifestyle stuff, and it was really me, Billy Morrison, and John Osborne as we rolled around South America together. We did a lot of the three of us together. I remember going over to Ozzy's hotel room in Rio de Janeiro, and all the windows were blacked out, all the curtains were pulled over. And he was fucking pissed because some kid was climbing up the tree trying to take pictures, you know, like the paparazzi's trying to take pictures in his room. You know, and you realize this is one of the most famous guys on the planet. You know, like he can't just go to Starbucks like the rest of us do on the boat, you know, and whatever we do in our life. This guy this is not a life he lives. And I remember we went to, one of the things we do as we're, you know, making these life transitions is we try to help other people get clean, stay clean. So we're going to this recovery center in San Jose, Costa Rica. And I know this around the world because this has been my lifestyle growing up. So we're in the car, and we're driving in the rain from the hotel, and it's just Ozzy and I in the back seat, and he starts telling me some stories. He goes, you know, I discovered this kid, Randy Rhoads. You heard of Randy Rhoads? I said, yes, I certainly know Randy Rhoads, you know. And then he starts telling some more, saying, you know, I discovered this kid, Mike Inez, on the back. You know Mike Inez? Have you heard of Mike Inez? I said, yes, I know Mike Inez. And the thing about it that I think that was said here, I like the word in earnest that I think you used. You know, Ozzy was such an unassuming guy. He didn't assume he's the great Oz and I'm just some minion. He did not assume any of this stuff. And I realized with him, you know, he was kind of like an old hippie. And he was just a music fan. That was really his thing. That was really one of the only times we talked about music. And as we're pulling up to this recovery center, the security goes in to make sure it's all clear. It's like in a wood shanty in some back alley, and it's pouring rain in the jungles of Costa Rica. And the security guy waves us in, so we go inside, and it's me and Billy and Ozzy. And we sit down, and there's one guy there. And so we sit down, we have our chat, and this kid is fucking freaking out. I mean, he knew who I was. he fucking clearly knew who Ozzy was, right? Walks into this meeting and this little chat we're having, and the guy says afterwards, he goes, man, this room used to be full, and lately it's only been me and one other guy, and tonight that guy didn't show up. But I will fucking keep this meeting going forever, just knowing you guys walked into this room tonight. And Ozzy and I had a great chat going back. I said, you know, it's interesting about fame and notoriety. You know, we probably all of us have used it and even abused it in wrong ways. And I said, it's an interesting thing when you can be helpful to other people, how the good Lord uses our notoriety in a way that we can be useful and helpful to other people. And, you know, not long after that, I remember I walked into his dressing room in São Paulo, Brazil, shortly after. And one of the funny things was there was a doctor there giving B12 shots. So they said, David, you want a B12 shot? It's one of the things we do on the road to stay healthy, right? So me and Ozzy and all of us are dropping trowel and getting fucking B12 shots in the ass. So I got a B12 shot in the ass with Ozzy, which is pretty cool. But yeah, hold it 11, right? Film it 11. But and to wrap up here, so you know, the tour wraps up. You know, we were, you know, again, it was the three amigos, and every time we'd see each other in an elevator, it was very kind of, you know, Geezer and Tony, you know, I think kind of took a special liking to me because I was sort of on the inside of their world in a useful way, not like a fanboy way. So I never kind of had those fanboy moments at all with Ozzy. It was just three men, you know, three grown men being responsible, not snorting ants, doing all that kind of stuff, right? And I didn't see him again then. You know, the tour, they carried on to Europe, and then he retired, or, you know, the medical stuff happened. And I didn't see him again until back in Birmingham, back in July 5th, back to the beginning. And I went up to him, we did that big band photo with all of us, and I went up to him, and you know, he was not looking so well, and I just said, hey, Oz, it's David from Megadeth. Oh my God, how are you? We hadn't spoken since then. It was just, again, that in earnest, nice connection. After the show that we all saw on TV, some of us there in person, you know, Ozzy gave it his all, and Sharon gave me and Jakey Lee some passes to come back for this moment, and we didn't know what it was. I was talking to Ozzy, they wheeled him in, and we're sitting there talking, and his leg was shaking, he was in his chair, he was fucking happy. You know, it's like playing a show, after a show, it's like having sex. It's like the cigarette time, you know, it's like, it is really a great moment, as we all know. It's the thing that probably keeps us addicted to the stage. We just love that thing that we do, that you like about it, that we connect, right? We just fucking connect, right? And Ozzy was glowing. I was like, fuck, maybe he's got a couple more years left. Maybe we'll get another album out of the guy. You know what I mean? I mean, he was, who knew 2 weeks later, you know, that would be it for him. But he was just glowing. So he waved me over and we had a little chat real quick. And then unbeknownst, I think the reason we got the passes is, you know, Sid proposed to Kelly. And suddenly we're like in Sharon and Ozzy's living room. And there's this proposal going down for marriage and all this other stuff that was going on. So I really felt blessed, and you know, I talked to Kelly about it and Sharon a little bit as well there, but you know, really blessed to just be one of the guys that sort of got pulled into the inside of the Osborne, I don't want to even say the Osborne family, but you know, when you know a guy on that level, we know each other as musicians, many of us have gone through the journey of hitting bottom, being restored to be able to go back up to the top again, and that was really a blessed moment that I got to share with my brother John O, which so that's my story at the end of the story. So that's it. That's all I have.
All right. So here's the deal. We got 15 minutes left, and everybody, we got to look. Needless to say, everybody could be up here for hours. I got stories. Keith has stories. We all have stories. But I want to make sure all our guests had a chance to say something, and they did. So with the last 15 minutes, Keith, what do you think? Maybe take a few audience questions for anybody?
Absolutely, but I just want to thank everybody because all your
Do we have a
stories
wireless
were
mic?
phenomenal.
Oh, we have a wireless.
But I know our buddy Jim Florentine who's anxious to.
Well, if Jim wants to start, I think Jim left. I saw him walk out. So does anybody want to ask anybody on the panel a question? I'll come around with the mic. Somebody has to want to ask a question. Of course, the guy the furthest back. You make me steps. Just kidding. Here you go.
I'm going to do a tiny bit of shameless self-promotion. I'm an Ozzy tribute artist, and I gotta say, every one of you has been such a huge, I've been doing Ozzy for about 10 years, and I try very hard to be as accurate and as respectful as possible, and I guess my question is, if you're approached by somebody dressed like Ozzy, is it offensive to you, or do you see it as how it's meant to be a compliment? And later on, I'm hoping to get pictures with some of you, and I'll be in costume, so just heads up, I guess. Honestly, how do you feel about that?
So the question is, will you be creeped out by this guy when he comes up to you a little later? Or are you going to be okay with it? In a nutshell, that's what he's asking.
No, if somebody comes up dressed like Ozzy, I mean, the funny thing that you mentioned that, whenever my girlfriend of 83 years, Barbara Ann, when she starts yelling at me, I go dress as Ozzy, because I know she'll never, Ozzy can do no wrong. So I just dress as Ozzy, and then that's the end of the argument. But no, it's all good. I mean, everybody loves Oz, you know what I mean? So it's all good.
Remember, this is a man that not only has played a huge, huge role in Ozzy's history and story, but he also has a Black Sabbath tribute.
Yeah. And I also still make Ozzy ham sandwiches every day.
The mustard.
Yes.
Zakk, what's the name of the mustard again?
Coleman's. It's a British staple. Come on.
All right, we got another question.
I actually don't have a question, but this is the only opportunity I'll have to tell all of you thank you. Because every one of you on the stage is the soundtrack of my life and probably most of the people in here. So thanks for everything you have said.
Anybody else? Get as many people as we can with the time that we have. Questions? Where? Okay, way on the side here. Okay.
Hi, my question's for Lita. Lita, I love you, and I want to hear a little bit more about the songwriting process for Close My Eyes Forever. Can you give me a couple bullet points? Thank you.
Where the hell are you?
He's right in the corner over here. Songwriting for Close My Eyes Forever.
Yeah, Ozzy had a vision when he came in with the idea to write Close My Eyes Forever. He had the chorus.
He's back there. He's practically in the kitchen. When he's over there.
I mean, when you write a song, it helps to have a vision of what you're going to play. A guitar riff, a song title, a melody. And Ozzy came in and he said, I see myself, and he closed his eyes and he put his hands up, in Ozzy fashion. And he said, I see myself standing on top of a mountain with my eyes closed. And in a weird way, I could completely understood what he was talking about. It was like a larger than life thing. And I feel that a lot of his life experiences with Sharon, a lot of that went into that song because he was a fuck up, and Sharon saved him so many times. And every time she did, I think maybe there was a little piece of Ozzy that just kind of went, oh fuck. Am I really that bad of a fuck up? And so the lyrics for Close My Eyes were, will you ever trust me? If I'm gone after I'm gone, will you still love me? So, I mean, you're welcome.
Thank you. Who else? Question for the panel. Who else? Anybody else?
Come on, one more.
You guys are, we're right in the front. We'll make it easy. There you go.
I'm shooting myself now. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for sharing your stories about Ozzy and about Randy. It's touched the lives of everybody in this room. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Ozzy wouldn't be here. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. And if I can, I just wanted to share the little story that I have. When I got to meet Ozzy, I was at Back to the Beginning and I got to meet Ozzy at Comic-Con the week after. I got to meet him 3 times that day, and I've never met a more magical human being in my life. There is just nothing could prepare you for actually meeting this man, and I'm shaking because it still hurts to think about it, but I just want everyone to know how strong he was. He signed my arm that day and I got a taxi hours later. I held his hand and I got to watch him be wheeled out. I was the last paying fan to get a photo with him, but there was just something so incredible about him, and he was so strong, so physically strong. I was thinking, I wouldn't want to go against Ozzy in a fucking arm wrestle. He gripped me like that. I was like, oh shit. But he was an amazing person, and again, grateful for all of you to share your stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky.
Because there's so much in the media about Ozzy, we all feel like we know him through the music and through everything that we've seen. You've all had incredibly personal experiences with him. What is the most Ozzy thing that you think people don't know?
Who wants to take that? Brad and Dana both have something, so go ahead, Brad.
Well, you never. He was always like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. You know? And when he didn't show up, we were doing the Texas Jam and Louisiana Jam, and Sharon was calling everybody saying, "Where's Ozzy? Where's Ozzy?" And then before cell phones and Rudy, everybody, "Oh, we don't know where he is." And he showed up the morning of the show after a couple days off, and he shaved his head. and Rudy will remember because Sharon's like, "Oh my God, we gotta get him a wig, And so I got photos too that I remember you shared, but so Rudy goes, we get him a wig, it was really long, and Rudy, you cut it, right? Yeah. New Orleans show, yeah. And he put a wig on, he goes, "Oh, I hate this wig." But talk about unexpected. "I hate this wig, I'm going to," so we talked about putting fake blood under a scalp. And everybody, you probably know this, every night he'd get on stage, he's shaking, he'd rip his shirt off, right? And he'd do his thing, he'd play the show. But he goes, "Oh, I hate this." And who said, "Put this fake blood under, and after you rip your shirt off, rip your scalp off really slow." "Oh my God, I love it, I'm gonna do it." Yeah. So now he wanted to wear the wig. Sure enough, he starts playing and he rips his shirt off. And Rudy and I were just like, we know what's coming. 80,000 kids there, mainly heavy metal kids, right? And he starts ripping his scalp off. And he started sweating, so the blood started coming over his head. And it looked real. So imagine 80,000 kids ripping a scalp off real slow, the blood's coming down. He throws it on the ground. Total silence. By the way, I'll count that. Then it's like, that's unexpected.
You said it great. I mean, yeah, that's what happened.
All right, I got one thing for you, and it's probably really unexpected. And ironically, Zakk and I just leaned over and said nobody's brought this up, and it's important because everybody in this room is here because of music and their love for music. The people and the personalities come after the music. You have to like the music first. That draws you in, just like it drew every one of us in for all the groups and all the people that we like the music of. So one thing many of you probably don't know, Zakk, you know it, I'm sure many of you know it, but I don't know that many of you would know it. Ozzy also liked music, but I don't think a lot of you are going to really be ready for the king of heavy metal and the prince of darkness. He liked the Beatles. And the Beatles were his go-to. And if in his mind, and we just literally were talking about this, in his mind, if the Beatles would do it, or in his mind, if he was singing it, it was acceptable because the Beatles melodies would, he would compute that. I mean, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Oz, definitely his love for the Beatles, because I would always say whenever we'd be writing or anything from, Miracle Man to My Mom Coming Home, No More Tears to Perry Mason.
No more tears, baby.
I mean, any of that stuff. It would very rarely, like the first thing he would sing, like when we had a riff or whatever, it would just be, he'd be like, "Zakk, just keep playing it." and we played a riff or whatever, and the first thing out of his head would be usually knock it out of the park. It was like that would be what you'd hear on the record. Very rarely did he ever, like if he, out of 20 songs, maybe 18 of them would be what's on the record. Very rarely would he be, I don't like what I'm singing here, I gotta change it. You know, but yeah, and I just always said, just like what Dave was saying, that just like, it's gotta be his love for the Beatles. And just, no, because I mean, he was just a king of the melody, hands down. I mean, it would always come up with these amazing melodies over everything. You know, but yeah, and I mean, truly, and he wouldn't know. I mean, that was what was always so awesome. Like, he wouldn't know whether something was minor or major or anything, or what he was singing over something that was minor, and it would be like a major melody. It would be like Symptom of the Universe, and it'd be like, wow, that's pretty insane that he came up, that's what he's hearing in his head. And me and JD, who plays in the band with Black Label, we always talk about Ozzy, the genius of his melodies. I remember when people would always say, yeah, well, Ozzy really doesn't come up with anything in the melody. I'd be like, how did you say that? I just go, first of all, he has an amazing voice. And then, you know, he's singing those melodies, whether it's over I Don't Know, where you just got dan, jigga, 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 dan, jigga, 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 dan. It's like, all right, well, sing something over it. And you got Ozzy's melody, people look down me, and once again, it's probably the first thing that came out of his head. And I mean, just truly mind-blowing, man. But
think of the line you just sang. It's like a Beatles line.
Yeah, totally. I mean, with Ozzy's melodies, you can always
Beatles line. You just sang a Beatles song.
Without a doubt. But,
it's funny you talk about the Beatles, because the last time I physically saw them was at Jones Beach, and you know, at the end, right, we were doing a live interview, and you know, this typical BS questions, and then all of a sudden I said, which I thought was the end, did you see the George Harrison Scorsese documentary? That was it. He's sitting down, he's ecstatic. Meanwhile, the door locked. So the security is like, it's almost near showtime, and they're pounding, and I'm like trying to get up and open the door, but he's talking about George Harrison and the Beatles and all this stuff, and I was like, you know, Big Dave and these guys thought like I was trying to kidnap him or something, but he just finally, you know, you talk about the Beatles and his whole life, it just, you know, the stars come out, and he just loves to talk music.
Yeah, Keith, before we wrap, because we got like 1 or 2 minutes, we both come at this from a different angle, being fans and obviously radio people, media people. So is that, I got one quick one I'll give you, but do you have, is that your story? Do you have a...
I mean, I have so many of them, but you know, a lot of them is, you know, I remember one night I was getting wasted with the great John Lydon and Michael Alago, and Michael's been sober for many years, let that be known. But we were going back and forth with quotes, and John Lydon was talking Black Sabbath quotes. It was amazing. And I was surprised how big of a Black Sabbath fan. And he said that him and his dad, he would go to work with his father, you know, where him and his father bonded, they would kill rats. He said it was the greatest job he ever had. But all the money that he would get at the end of the week, you know, he'd buy records and a lot of Black Sabbath. He even knew the Ian Gillan Black Sabbath, because I said to him, in life there's contradiction. He goes, that's bullets, that's Gillan lyrics. So just a big, I mean, in Black Sabbath being the international language of rock and roll, but we could sit here for days and talk about Ozzy stories, but I think we heard it directly from the source, and pretty awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Rudy, smile. What are you going to say, Rudy?
Yeah, you know, every time I watch Nightmare Before Christmas, I think of Ozzy, because he's basically Jack Skellington. You know, Jack wants to, you know, Christmas, because it's nice and but it just comes out like Halloween. You know, Ozzy is authentic, like Halloween is authentic. Ozzy was authentic. He did not know how to be anything else but Ozzy. But he loved the Beatles. And he used to be, you know, we used to sit around in the tour bus and he'd start singing a Beatles song. And it would sound evil. Like yesterday. Because no matter what he sang, it sounded like Ozzy Osborne.
Yeah, we got to wrap up, but real quick for me, because I'll jump in real quick. I started in radio in 1983. I was like 2, but I started in radio in 19, right out of high school. And when I started at the Meadowlands Arena, you know, we got a couple Jersey guys here, Zakk and Keith. Meadowlands Arena, the tour was Ozzy, Motley Crue, and Wasted in the third spot. Were you there, Zakk? Yeah. Were you? Pete, were you there?
I was there.
I saw Bernie Tormented before Red.
Yeah. So I started in radio that year, and I'm working at the local rock station in New Jersey, and they were doing this promotion on that tour where they offered the local radio, one of the local radio people, a chance to go on stage and hand Ozzy a goblet during Journey to the Center of Eternity. And I was the guy. So I was 18. I was 18, starting in radio, doing this thing called the Metal Show on a station in Jersey called DHA. And like I'm there on the air 2 months, and the program director says, "Hey, they want the metal guy to go do this thing with Ozzy." So here I am at 18 at the Meadowlands Arena, our hometown arena, and 15,000 people, and I'm asked if I want to do this. And I remember being backstage. I have photos of all this, by the way. And there's this, up and coming band called Motley Crue, and I remember Mick Mars coming in drinking, giving me drinks. I was 18, and Wasted. I was a big UFO fan. Pete Ways and Wasted. So it was amazing, right? So, but they come out. A guy comes out with a road case, and I had to dress like a monk, right? Because that was the part. So the guy gives me the monk outfit, which is like this pullover hooded thing, and he goes, "You got to wear this." And he goes, "When you walk out, we'll cue you. You walk straight to Ozzy. Do not look out to the audience, and do not look down because there's going to be a lot of shit thrown on the stage. Stand to Ozzy, hand him the goblet. He'll take the goblet, turn around, and walk off." So I go, but the guy puts the gown on me, and it smelled worse than anything I've ever smelled in my life. Because think about it, all these people that are doing this bit, you're nervous, you're sweating, right? They never wash the thing. And I'm like, I'm gonna puke, and but I gotta fucking do it. I can bring a goblet to Ozzy, right? So I suck it up and put it on. And I'll never forget, I'm walking, and my knees are shaking, and I'm in this stupid monk outfit, and I got the goblet, and I hand it to Ozzy, and I turn around, and I turn around, Jake E. Lee's there. I still told Jake this story to this day, because he was the guitar player at the time. He had a corded guitar, and I was about to walk off, and I didn't see the cord, and I was just about to take a header in front of 15,000 people on stage in front of Ozzy, and I'm just about to do it, and I see Jake out the corner of my eye, and he whips his cord like that and saved my ass, and I'll never forget it. But you wouldn't believe, and you guys being musicians, the stuff people throw on stage is insane. Like there was like somebody's prosthetic arm up there, wallets, watches, it's insane. It was really an amazing, that was an amazing moment to break into the business, I'll tell you that. So.
Speaking of Jersey though, when Zakk, when you got the gig, man, that was great because you kind of connected Ozzy to our little thing because, I met you at Close Encounters, we all kind of worked there, and Tyrus and Cyrus and all these, people that got along, but then, it all started happening in this little section, it was John Bon Jovi, his wife worked there, and then John, and then the Skid Row guys, and then you getting the Ozzy gig. I fucked it up by blowing the Ramones gig, but anyway, you guys, and I never forget the big hometown gig where I was there, and I remember, Ozzy came in to meet all your friends. Like, you had this room with all your friends, and Oz went in there to meet all of Zack's friends, and it was just such a cool thing, Yeah. And also, you joined the band, and it's you and, Ozzy and Geezer Butler, so jumping into your favorite band ever with half a Black Sabbath, Pretty cool.
The goblet, God knows, I have no idea what's in the goblet. No, it's like some sort of wine or drink or something. I just still can't get the smell of it. It's crazy. It was crazy. Anyway, we're actually over time now, so we do have to wrap this up. But thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for this.